Hi students, today we will see class 12 Sociology chapter 3 Social Institution Continuity and Change. Having studied the structure and dynamics of the population of India in chapter 2, we turn now to study the social institutions. A population is not just a collection of separate, unrelated individuals. It is a society made up of the distinct but interlinked classes and communities of various kinds. These communities are subsumed and regulated by social institutions and social relationships. In this chapter, we will be looking at three institutions that are central to Indian society, namely caste, tribe and family. 3.1 Caste and the caste system. Like any Indian, you already know that caste is the name of the ancient social institution that has been part of the Indian history and culture for thousands of years. But like any Indian living in a 21st century, you also know that something called caste is definitely a part of Indian society today. To what extent are these two castes the one that is supposed to be the part of the India's past and the one that is the past of its present the same thing? This is the question that we will try to answer in this section. Caste in the past. Caste is an institution uniquely associated with the Indian subcontinent. While the social arrangements producing similar effects have existed in other parts of the world, the exact form has not been found elsewhere. Although it is an institution characteristic of Hindu society, caste has spread to the major non-Hindu communities of the Indian subcontinent. This is especially true of the Muslims, Christians and Sikhs. As is well known, the English word caste is actually a borrowing from the Portuguese castum meaning pure breed. The word refers to a broad institutional arrangement that in an Indian languages, beginning with the ancient Sanskrit, is referred to by two distinct terms, Varna and Jati. Varna, literally color, is the name given to a fourfold divisions of the society into Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Though this excludes a significant section of the population composed of the outcasts, foreigners, slaves, conquered peoples and others, sometimes referred to as Panchamas or fifth category. Jati is the generic term referring to specific or kinds of something, ranging from inanimate objects to plants, animals and human beings. Jati is the word most commonly used to refer to the institution of caste in Indian languages, though it is interesting to note that increasingly Indian language speakers are beginning to use the English word caste. The precise relationship between Varna and Jati has been subject of much speculation and debate among scholars. The most common interpretation is to treat Varna as a broad all-India aggregative classification, while Jati is taken to be a regional or local sub-classification involving a much more complex system consisting of hundreds or 7,000s of caste and subcaste. This means that while the four Varna classification is common to all of India, the Jati hierarchy has more local classification that vary from region to region. Opinions also differ in an exact age of the caste system. It is generally agreed, though, that the four Varna classification is roughly 3,000 years old. However, the caste system should for different things in different time periods, so that it is misleading to think of the same system of continuing for 3,000 years. In its earliest phase, in the late Vedic period, roughly between 900 to 500 BC, the caste system was really a Varna system and consisted of only four major divisions. These divisions were not very elaborate or very rigid, and they were not determined by the birth. The movement across the categories seems to have been not only the possible but quite common. It is only in the past Vedic period that the caste became the rigid institution that is familiar to us from well-known definitions. The most commonly cited defining features of caste are the following. 1. The caste is determined by birth. A child is born into the caste of its parent. Caste is never the matter of choice. One can never change one's caste and leave it or choose not to join it. Also, there are instances where persons may be expelled from their caste. 2. Membership in a caste involved strict rules about the marriage. Caste groups are the endogamous, that is, marriage is restricted to the members of the group. 3. Caste membership also involves the rules about the food and food sharing. What kinds of food may or may not be eaten is prescribed, and who one may share the food with is also specified. 4. Caste involves a system consisting of many castes arranged in a hierarchy of rank and status. In theory, every person has a caste and every caste has a specified place in a hierarchy of all castes. While the hierarchical position of many castes, particularly in the middle ranks, may vary from the region to region, there is always hierarchy. 5. Castes also involve subdivisions within themselves, that is, castes almost always have the subcastes, and sometimes subcastes may also have a subcastes. This is referred to as the segmental organization. 6. Castes were traditionally linked to the occupation. A person born into the caste could only practice the occupation associated with that the caste, so that the occupations were hereditary, that is, passed on from generation to generation. On the other hand, a particular occupation could only be pursued by the caste associated with it. The members of these castes could not enter the occupation. Here they give Ayyangali, 1863-1914. Ayyangali, born in Kerala, was the leader of the lower castes and Dalits. With his efforts, Dalits got the freedom to walk on public roads, and Dalit children were allowed to join the schools. Ayyangali. These features are the prescribed rules found in ancient scriptural texts. Since these prescriptions were not always practiced, we cannot say to what extent these rules actually determine the empirical reality of the caste, its concrete meaning for the people living at that time. As you can see, Most of the prescriptions involve prohibitions or restrictions of various sorts. It is also clear from the historical evidence that caste was a very unequal institution. Some castes benefited greatly from the system, while the others were condemned to a life of endless labor and subordination. Most important, once caste became rigidly determined by the birth, it was in principle impossible for a person to ever change their life circumstance, whether they deserved it or not. An upper caste person would always have higher status, while the lower caste person would always be of the lower caste. Theoretically, the caste system can be understood as the combination of two sets of principles, one based on difference and separation, and other on holism and hierarchy. Each caste is supposed to be different from, and these therefore strictly separated from, every other caste. Many of the scriptural rules of the caste are thus designed to prevent the mixing of castes. Rules ranging from marriage, food sharing, and social transaction to occupation. On the other hand, these different and separated castes do not have an individual existence. They can only exist in relation to a large whole, the totality of the society consisting of all castes. Further, this societal whole or the system is a hierarchical rather than the egalitarian system. Each individual caste occupies not just a distinct place but also an ordered rank, a particular position in a ladder-like arrangement going from the highest to lowest. The hierarchical ordering of the castes is based on the distinction between purity and pollution. This is the division between something believed to be closer to sacred, closer to the sacred, thus connoting ritual purity, and something believed to be the distant from or opposed to the sacred, therefore considered ritually polluting. Castes that are considered ritually pure have high status, while those considered less pure or impure have low status. As in all societies, material power, that is economic or military power, is closely associated with the social status, so that those in power tend to be a high status and vice versa. Historians believe that those who were defeated in wars were often assigned low caste status. Finally, castes are not only unequal to each other in ritual terms, they are also supposed to be complementary and non-competing groups. In other words, each caste has its own place in the system, which cannot be taken by any other caste, since caste is also linked with occupation, system functions, and as the social division of labor, except that in principle it allows no mobility. Since caste is also linked with the occupation, system functions as the social division of the labor, except that in principle it allows no mobility. Here, Jyotirao Govindarao Phule, 1827-1890. Jyotirao Govindarao Phule denounced the injustice of the caste system and squandered its rules of purity and pollution. In 1873, he founded the Satyasodka Samaj Truth Seekers Society. Satyadosadak Samaj, which was devoted to securing human rights and social justice for low caste people. Not surprisingly, our sources of knowledge about the past and specifically the ancient past is inadequate. It is difficult to be very certain about what things were like at that time or the reasons why some institutions and practices came to be established. But even if we know all this, it still cannot tell us about what should be done today. Just because something happened in the past or is the part of our tradition, it is not necessarily right or wrong forever. Every age has to think afresh about such questions and come to its own collective decision about its social institution. Thank you. Sharing is caring. Comment your thought. Subscribe for more knowledge.